In the grand architecture of the cosmos, objects move according to a single, immutable principle, gravity. The universe is a clockwork of immense, silent forces, where comets and planets follow paths not of their own choosing, but of mathematical necessity. They are falling, perpetually, along curves in spacetime dictated by the mass of stars and other worlds. A comet's trajectory, especially that of an interstellar visitor, should be a simple, sweeping hyperbola, a testament to its random, chaotic journey through the void. But the path of Flyby/Atlas was not simple. It was not random. To the very few who had the clearance to see the complete, unfiltered tracking data, it was a masterpiece of impossible precision. It was less like a rock falling through a field of magnets and more like a championship-level billiard shot, a trick shot executed on a cosmic scale. The first clue was its approach vector. It entered our solar system not from a random angle, but on a path almost perfectly aligned with the ecliptic plane, the flat disk on which all the planets orbit. This, in itself, was a statistical improbability, but it was just the opening move. The true anomaly was its interaction with our system's giants. Its trajectory carried it through a precise gravitational keyhole near Jupiter, a tiny window in spacetime no bigger than the planet itself. Passing through this keyhole allowed it to use the gas giant's immense gravity not just to alter its course, but to accelerate, gaining a velocity boost that a natural object on its path should not have had. This was the first cushion of the billiard shot. After this Jupiter slingshot, its new trajectory was even more perplexing. It was now aimed not at the Sun, but at another, even smaller gravitational keyhole near Mars. It performed a second, more subtle gravitational assist, using the red planet to fine-tune its path for the final and most crucial leg of its journey, a high-speed flyby of the Earth-Moon system. A natural object, subject to the countless tiny gravitational nudges of its interstellar journey, has a near-zero probability of hitting a single gravitational keyhole by chance. To hit two in perfect sequence is a statistical impossibility so profound it borders on the miraculous. This was not a comet following the path of least resistance. This was a guided missile executing a pre-planned, multi-stage orbital insertion. It was a trajectory of intent, a path too perfect to be natural, a cosmic billiard shot where the cue ball was a billion-ton comet, and the pocket was a precise, unseen point in space near the orbit of Earth. The concept of a weapon is hardwired into our psychology. We think of explosions, of kinetic impact, of energy released in a blinding flash. But this is a primitive, brutal form of conflict. A truly advanced intelligence would understand that the most powerful weapon is not one that creates chaos, but one that subtly manipulates the existing order. The greatest weapon is not a whisper that becomes a bang, it is a whisper that remains a whisper, its effects unfolding silently over eons. This is the horrifying principle of the gravitational weapon. It is an act of war based on the mathematics of chaos theory, on the sensitive dependence on initial conditions, more commonly known as the butterfly effect. Our planet's orbit around the Sun seems to be the very definition of stability, an eternal, repeating loop. But this is an illusion. The solar system is a dynamically chaotic system. Earth's orbit is stable only within a very narrow set of parameters. A tiny, imperceptible change to its initial conditions can, over a timescale of millions of years, cascade into catastrophic failure. A change of a few millimeters in its orbital path today could mean the difference between a habitable world and a frozen, dead planet 100,000 years from now. Flyby/Atlas was this whisper. As it passed our planet at its pre-calculated trajectory point, its immense mass exerted a tiny, fleeting gravitational tug on the Earth. This tug was not powerful enough to cause earthquakes or shift the tides. It was an influence so subtle that it was completely undetectable by any public-facing scientific instrument. It nudged our planet, altering its semi-major axis, its average distance from the Sun, by an infinitesimal amount, perhaps less than the width of a human hair. It was the cosmic equivalent of a single grain of sand being added to one side of a perfectly balanced scale. For a time, nothing happens. But the balance has been broken. The perfection of the weapon lies in this subtlety. There is no impact crater, no radiation signature, no debris field. The weapon leaves no evidence of its use because the weapon was the universe itself. It simply co-opted the fundamental force of gravity, using our own sun's pull as the engine of our eventual destruction. It was the perfect crime, an attack so patient and so clean that its effects would not be felt until its perpetrators were long gone, a silent, irrevocable death sentence delivered with a whisper. What kind of intelligence would conceive of such a weapon? What motive could drive an attack of such infinite, cold, and calculated patience? To understand this, we must discard our own, very human, concepts of time and conflict. This was not an act of passion, of anger, or of fear. This was an act of cosmic landscaping. The beings who sent Flyby/Atlas are likely ancient, perhaps millions of years old, a species for whom 100,000 years is a mere season. Their perspective is not that of a warrior, but of a gardener tending to their plot of the galaxy. And in their garden, humanity was a weed. The motives for this planetary weeding fall into a few terrifying categories. The first is resource preservation. They may have a future interest in Earth or our solar system. A direct, explosive attack would risk fracturing the planet, contaminating the system with radiation, or destroying valuable resources. A gravitational attack is clean. It doesn't destroy the planet, it sterilizes it. It slowly freezes or boils the biosphere over millennia, but it leaves the planet's mineral wealth and its core structure perfectly intact. They are not destroying the house, they are simply, and patiently, evicting the tenants before they move in. The second motive is threat neutralization. In the last century, humanity has transformed from a silent, pre-technological species into a loud, radio-emitting one. Our radio signals are expanding out into the galaxy in a bubble of noise. To a hyper-advanced, ancient intelligence, this could be the telltale sign of an emerging competitor, or worse, a noisy, unpredictable pest. They are acting preemptively, solving a potential future problem with ruthless efficiency before it has a chance to grow. The third, and perhaps most chilling motive, is systemic policy. This may not have been a specific attack on humanity. It may simply be the standard operating procedure of a vast, unseen galactic empire or federation. The policy may be that any civilization that reaches a certain technological threshold without also achieving interstellar travel is deemed a failed state, a potential source of instability. The gravitational weapon is simply the quiet, efficient administrative tool for decommissioning such worlds. There is no malice, no emotion. It is simply the universe's most final and unforgiving act of bureaucracy. This is the psychology of the long game, an attack of infinite patience, executed by an intelligence that sees timelines not in years, but in epochs. The perfect crime is only perfect if no one ever knows it was committed. The architects of this attack likely believed their actions were completely undetectable. But they may have underestimated the paranoid ingenuity of the human race. While the orbital change was too small to be seen by university telescopes or public satellites, a handful of secretive, black-budget programs have been dedicated for decades to a single purpose: achieving unprecedented precision in measuring our planet's exact position in space. This is the world of projects like the U.S. Navy's Geodetic Survey and Timing program, or its classified European counterpart. These programs are not about astronomy, they are about maintaining the absolute accuracy of the atomic clocks that govern our global financial systems and, most critically, our GPS-guided nuclear weapons. To ensure this accuracy, They have created a global network of laser ranging stations, radio telescopes linked by very long baseline interferometry, and specialized satellites, all working in concert to track Earth's position with a precision that borders on the divine. It is this secret network that became humanity's silent alarm. In the weeks and months following the free I/Atlas flyby, the data from this network began to show a terrifying anomaly. A drift. It was a deviation of picometers per second, a statistical ghost in the machine, but it was persistent and, most importantly, it was not random. It perfectly matched the signature of the orbital decay predicted by the most classified models of the gravitational tug. The handful of analysts with access to this data were the first to know the truth. They were the first to see the doomsday clock. This discovery did not trigger a global alert, it triggered a global conspiracy of silence at the highest possible level. To announce that an unseen enemy had just permanently altered our planet's orbit would have been an act of calculated insanity. It would have caused global panic, economic collapse, and social chaos, all for a threat that would not fully manifest for thousands of years. There was no defense, no solution they could offer. And so, the decision was made. The data was classified. The official story of a boring comet was reinforced. They chose to hide the truth, not to protect the public from the enemy, but to protect the public from the horrifying helplessness of their own situation. And so we are left here, living on a planet that looks and feels exactly as it did yesterday, bathed in the light of a sun that seems as reliable as ever. But the ground beneath our feet is no longer solid. The path we travel through space is no longer our own. We have been placed on a new trajectory, a long, gentle, and inescapable spiral into oblivion. The doomsday clock is ticking, but its hands move so slowly that generations will live and die without ever seeing them move. This is the final, horrifying reality of the gravitational weapon. It has already succeeded. The timeline of our extinction is now a matter of mathematics, not of chance. For the next few centuries, the changes will be so subtle as to be non-existent, lost in the noise of our planet's natural climate cycles. But eventually, the whisper will become a roar. The slow drift will accumulate. Millennia from now, our descendants will face a world of accelerating chaos. Seasons will lose their meaning. Ice ages and hothouse periods will swing back and forth with devastating speed. The delicate balance of our biosphere will be irrevocably shattered. Eventually, the final act will begin. If our orbit is decaying inward, the planet will slowly bake, the oceans boiling away into a runaway greenhouse effect like Venus. If our orbit is expanding outward, we will freeze, the atmosphere precipitating out onto a world of barren, nitrogen ice. Humanity is now a species with a hidden expiration date. Every dream of a long-term future, every plan for interstellar colonization, every hope of reaching our ultimate potential is now in a race against the clock we cannot see. The silent alarms in their secret bunkers continue to register the drift, a quiet, constant reminder of the sentence that has been passed upon us. The attack was perfect. It was traceless, elegant, and final. We are already ghosts, living on a haunted planet, our fate sealed by a whisper in the dark.